Hey all, welcome to my YouTube channel, Time Machine Teacher. I am also Window House Emporium, and I'm going to be doing some journal tutorials and different things that you can make with the printables in my Etsy shop. So hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss everything that's coming up. It's going to be exciting. I'm so excited to share these cute little books with you today. I have 3 different kinds that I made with the same printable. This one is made without a cardboard cover, and you can see here that it is also on like a matte paper. I printed this out on my printer at home. And then I added some aging with distress ink, and I used some paper that I had from an old calendar and put a little tidbit on the front. This one is the same type, the same size, just a little bit bigger. This one I used cardboard to put into the cover. And the prints here were from the copy center at FedEx, so they're a little bit more quality paper. And it's a little bit more shiny. I haven't distressed this one yet with ink, but I planned to do that. And you will also learn how to make this little book. He's so cute. This one was one of the very first ones I made, so I printed this on my regular 20-pound paper, but it does look better on the professional paper from a professional printer. This one got a little bit messed up because of the glue. But I just love it. He's so cute. So we'll be doing this one as well. So you're going to start by cutting out your pages. This is the cutter that I use, but I'm not a super big fan because it's kind of hard to get it exactly right where I want it. Therefore, I am not going to put this one in my supply list. I'll try to find a different one that maybe works a little bit better. This one's just like really hard to get accurate. I don't like it. I have another one that's a little bit more accurate, but I need to replace the blade on it, and I haven't done that yet. All right, so I'm going to get my pages cut out here, and this is actually, I think, the second and third page. This one with the guy right here, that one is the first page. This is a newspaper that I found in Paris, and it's actually kind of a fun story. We were down vintage shopping by the river, and they have those places that sell old books right by the river, and a lady had just bought a book bin, and it was full of old newspapers and vintage magazines and things like that. And when we went to go look at it, she said, "Oh, anything you want, just take it, because I'm going to throw it away anyway." And I was like, "What? You're going to throw this away? No, please don't throw this away." And so my friend and I, my friend who is also a vintage lover, she and I took as much as we possibly could because we were like, we don't want you to throw this away. And this newspaper was one of those items that I took. Unfortunately, the original copy is a little bit too crinkly to do anything with, and so that's why I thought I would make it into a printable. But here we go. This is the first page, second page, and then the woman in the yellow skirt is the third. This one's the fourth. So I'm going to put those in order so that I know. And then the 2 little girls, that's the very last page. So she was overjoyed that we were taking all of her old things that she didn't want. We were overjoyed that she was giving it to us, basically, but we decided to pay her some because, like, we knew that this had value, and we didn't want to take advantage. And so she was so excited because she was like, "You're my first sale, you're my first sale." So we made her day, and she made our day with all of the vintage newspapers that we were able to get. All right, these are ready to be folded. So I'm going to move that out of the way. And what you're going to do is take each one of these and fold it down the middle in half. I'm going to use this to get my folds really crisp. You don't have to use one of these, but it does make it a little bit easier. Once you fold it in half, you're going to do halves again. Up to that middle point. Then when you open it, that middle fold, I'm just going to fold back like this. So that now I have kind of an accordion. This is the first page. This is the last page of that 4 panels, and this will be glued to the next page. So I'm going to lay that down so that I remember that's the order it goes in. And I'm going to do the same thing to these other pages. This page, the 2 guys standing watching the band, will go up against the last page that you just did. I printed this at FedEx Copy Center. It's 32-pound paper. I have used regular 20-pound as well, but I like the 32-pound just because it's a little bit thicker, but not as thick as cardstock. So now this lady in the yellow skirt, she's going to go on top of my pile. Lady in the red skirt, top of my pile. And the last page is the 2 little girls with the red balloon. I also have not translated this completely. I think it's about a day in the garden, but I would like to translate the rest of it and actually see what's happening. I think that would be really fun to do. Have not done that yet though. And then the 2 little girls will go on top of my stack. So now I have all of my pages ready to go. To glue this, I'm going to take a little bit of Mod Podge that I have here in my container and water it down. I like to water it down so that it doesn't wrinkle my pages as much, and you want it to be kind of this consistency right here. Not really dripping off of the brush, but just watery. I find that that works really well. So I'm going to flip these pages back over. I'm going to check to make sure that my first page is the man right here. This one's eventually going to go to my book cover. So I want to glue these 2 pages together. So I'm gluing together the page that has this guy, looks like he's reading the newspaper and kind of jumping up and down, to the 2 guys that are watching the band. I'm going to glue it right there. And don't worry if you didn't cut it exactly. We can always ink the edges of the page so that it looks old. Then I've got the colonel right here, or general or whatever he is, and I'm going to glue the lady in the yellow skirt to that page. And this page I definitely cut a little bit too small, so I'll just ink that, make it look old. Then I have the lady in the blue skirt right here. Then I have the lady in the blue skirt right here. And I'm going to glue the lady in the red skirt to her. And last but not least, this guy leaning up against the pole, reading the newspaper, and the 2 little girls with the balloon. And there you have your little book. I'm going to make sure that the pages didn't glue together. This one, oops, that one kind of did a little bit. So be careful of that. Once again though, if this happens, just take a little bit of Distress ink and we can fix that to make it look old. What I'm going to do is take my Walnut Stain Distress ink by the wonderful Tim Holtz and my little dabber here. And just make this look like it was supposed to be that way. Because sometimes the glue kind of like seeps over a little bit if you're not careful. So just gotta fix it. And what's wonderful about printables is if you mess it up, you just print another copy and do it again. So that fixed it right up. Now it just looks like it was supposed to be that way. I need to fix it on this side too. There we go. All right, now we're ready to put this into a cover. I'm going to go ahead and run over these folds again just to make sure that they're good and tight. This is going to be my front page, so I want the spine to go into the cover that way. You can use whatever paper you want for the cover. I had this old calendar and I really liked the paper on it. I like how it felt. It's a little bit thicker than 20-pound paper, probably about 32 pounds or something like that. So you can use whatever paper you want to do the cover. And what I do is kind of lay it down to measure it. So I know that I want the cover to come over this way. This is going to be a little bit too much overlap. I want about 1/4 of an inch overlap. So when I fold it like that, I have about 1/4 of an inch. There's a little bit too much on top, but I want to straighten that, so that's okay. And then down here, 1/4 of an inch. It's going to be about right there. So I'm just going to cut this off right here. And you can leave yourself a little extra if you want to straighten up the edges. So now I have my book cover. And I'm going to straighten up the edges with my cutter. Keep these little tidbits because you can use those to put them on packing tape, and I'll show you that in a different video. I use that for like collages and stuff. All right. That's still a little bit too long, but that's okay. I can trim that. So I'm going to check once again, make sure I have the front. It's that guy. And put it up here. And it's still a little bit much on the top, so I'm going to trim that off. And I'm going to trim this off. You could also rip these edges if you want it to look a little bit more grungy-ish. It's not exactly straight, but let me see if I can straighten that up a little bit. There we go. All right. I've got my book. And I want to glue in the spine, and then I'm also going to glue the sheets to the book. But I forgot about this. I put this in your printable. This is a piece of marbled paper that I use for the inside. So if you'd like to include that, you can. You could also use a different type of paper, whatever you've got. This kind of gives it a little bit of a finished look. I'm going to go ahead and cut this. Oh, cut it too little. Dang it. Oh, really cut it too little there. See, this is why I don't like this cutter. That's okay. You get going and you stop paying attention. All right, I have this piece. What I'm going to do is divide it in half like this. And then cut it down that middle. Not the best cut there. I could have used my other thing, but it's okay. And then I'm going to fold in half. Oops, I did it the wrong direction. Fold in half this way because I want to glue this up against the paper, and then that's going to go up against the book right there. So I'm going to get my watered down Mod Podge. Get a little bit of that. And glue this piece onto that first page. So now when it opens up, there's my first page. And I'm going to take the second piece, fold it in half. And this will be for the back. So flip through. And glue this piece. All right, your book is completely ready. Now, to glue in these pages and the binding, I use a different type of glue. It's called pH neutral PVA. This is professional bookbinding glue that librarians like myself use. I've used it a couple of times in the library to fix some books. And what I like about that glue is that it's a little bit more flexible. So even after it dries, it's still a little flexible, and it's really good for the book spine. You can use Mod Podge though. You don't have to have that glue. I just like that one. So I'm going to go ahead and put some of that glue down on my marbled red page and fold it over, keeping the room for the binding. Or for the spine, I guess you could say. And then gluing it down to that inside cover. Then we're ready for the spine. I want to make sure that I don't have glue seeping into the pages because we don't want the pages to stick together. So kind of pinch this with your fingers as you're putting the glue on there. I'm using that same PVA glue. And I'm putting it down on the spine. And then wrap the spine around. I'm also going to put some glue here to go ahead and glue down that page so that when I wrap it around, it's ready to roll. I'm going to let that dry for a little bit because it will dry better in the spine if you leave it wrapped. You can even put something heavy on top of it for 10 or 15 minutes, and that will get a really tight fit on that binding. You can also use this from the printable, the little bit bigger one. This is the title, so this would go on the cover of the book. And then this is, I think, like the date or the edition that it's from, so I just used that and put it on the inside of the book. And you can also work on your cover. For this one, what I did is I sewed together some buttons, a little watch face, and some lace, had some stamps, edged it out a little bit with some distress ink. You can do whatever you want to make this look a little bit older. Usually what I do is, depending on what journal this little book is going to go in, I kind of theme it the same way. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do this one that's got a little bit harder cover and this little thing right here. So let's get started on that. For this cover, I used a cardboard mailer to get this thickness. However, I am out of the mailers, so I'm just going to use this piece. It's probably about the thickness of cardstock, maybe a little bit thicker. You could also use cardboard from a box or something like that, but oh, it's got like a little perforated edge. So I'm going to put this down just a little bit further, and I'm going to cut myself off a piece about right here. I'm going to use my cutter so that it's nice and straight. I've given myself a 1/2 inch on each side of the book just to have a little bit of extra there. It's not going to need to be that big, but this has like a perforated edge, so I'm definitely going to cut that off. That way it doesn't get in the way. And when it's all said and done, I want this to be about 1/4 inch. So that's pretty close. Well, that's about 1/2 inch. So about 1/4 inch, about right there. And I'm going to wrap it around so that I can see where I need to cut it. Over here. So I'm going to cut it about right there. And that edge is going to be too thick, so I'm going to need to cut some of that off. Maybe about right there. I always give myself a little extra, just because you have a little bit of wiggle room when you have that extra. So that's good right there. And then I'm going to cut off my bottom part to match the top. And then this piece over here needs to be cut off, so I'm going to lay that down and kind of eyeball it. And now we have our cover. Well, the insides of our cover, right? I'm going to check just to make sure. You want this guy that's smoking the cigar to be on the front. So he's in the front there. All right, now I'm going to choose my paper that I want to cover this cover with. I'm going to use this paper that I got from an old calendar. It's a really nice, kind of a good thickness, not as thick as cardstock, but a little bit thicker than regular paper. And I want it big enough to cover this cover and bring it down on the insides a little bit. So I want about, I'm going to say 1/2 inch around a little bit, I guess that's a little bit over 1/2 inch. So about 3/4 of an inch all the way around. I'm going to give myself a little bit of extra so that I can trim it with my cutter. This is too big of a paper to get into my cutter. Right now anyways. Well, actually it doesn't matter if it's straight because it's going to be covered on the inside. So I'm going to lay it this way. And now we need to start bringing it in on the book cover. Okay, so what I'm going to do with that is hold this up and cut at an angle here. There is a special tool that you can get to do this so that it's a little bit more precise, but I don't have that tool yet. I'll put it in the supplies though in case you want it. I'm kind of a fan of things not always being absolutely perfect. Now to glue this down, I'm going to use this glue right here, It's a PVA glue, pH neutral it's called. It's for bookbinding, and librarians like myself use it to fix books. I just like it because it's a little bit more flexible. So that's the glue that I'm going to use to glue this cardboard into my cover. I should have gotten a little bit bigger brush to make it a little bit faster. I'm going to go ahead and glue that down. Oops. And I want to make sure that those points are inside of my paper and not outside, otherwise it will show once I fold it over. Then you're going to start folding this paper over your cover and gluing that down. You can always leave yourself a little bit of extra so that it covers. See how like right here it covers, but here it didn't cover. I'm not that picky. These are just gonna go inside of journals that I make for gifts. So I don't mind if there's a little bit of cardboard showing, but if you want it to completely cover, then when you cut this, make sure that that point is inside of the paper, and then it will completely cover that. I made it a little bit too snug. Okay, now we're gonna take this glue and just get those sides glued down. One already had a little bit of glue on it. That was convenient. So I have that all glued in. I'm going to give that a moment to dry. While that's drying, I'm going to cut the piece that is going to go in here to cover this up. So I've got some of this paper that I think I'm going to use. This paper I get from the Paper Source, and they have these amazing big sheets of paper that just last forever. So if you have a Paper Source around you and you haven't checked them out, definitely want to. Just go when you can spend some money because you are going to want to spend money, that is for sure. Now this paper kind of has this cool edge right here that I want to keep, so I'm going to put that on that side, and then I'm going to cut this a little bit shorter. So you will need two of these because you need one for the front and one for the back. So this one might be a little, I'm going to see if this one's too big. It might be a little bit too big. Your book binding will be right here, and then this page will kind of go over it a little bit. So that's actually a perfect size. So I need two of those. Go ahead and cut me another one. All right, now I have two of these around the same size. This will be for my front and my back cover. This is just about ready to go, so I'm gonna go ahead and put my little thing in here. If I fold it like this, I wanna put my thing about right there. So I'm gonna take my hole punch, and this is a small hole punch because I can't find my big one. I don't know if you're like me or not, but when I go into my art room and I find what I need, it's a great day. Because that hardly ever happens. Most of the time I'm looking for quite a while for what I need. All right, let's see. There we go. it got down in there. Okay, so that's in there now like that. That's how I like it. I'm gonna go ahead and just put the fastener over the sides here. Like that. That's ready. And that is ready. So now what I'm gonna do is take my inside page. I wanna glue that down in here. So that's going to cover all of that stuff. I think I'm gonna glue it to this first though. I think that would be easier. So take your book pages that you have, find the guy standing there by that yellow tent, he's your first page, and I'm going to glue this buddy in there like that. Once again, I'm going to use the PVA glue, but you can use Mod Podge, totally fine. And put that down. This book I used cardstock. I printed it on cardstock, so it's a little bit more durable. Totally up to you how you want to do it. So the left side of this is going to go on the book cover. The right side is what you need to glue to your first page. So you're going to put that down. And that is glued to the first page. Then this goes to, this goes to the front cover. So I'm going to put this in here like that. Fits good. I like that edge, kind of makes it look interesting. Let me get my glue. And this is going to be entirely glued down. So you want to cover it with glue. There we go. And then I'm going to put it on here. Center it to about where you got to see where the spine is going to be as well. I think I might have made that a little bit too big. Yep, I did. I don't want to cut off that cool edge though, so what I'm going to do is just glue it down in there, and then I'll kind of bring this over a little bit. All right, that's in there. And then when I glue the spine down, you're going to glue right here in this middle part. This page is going to be a page that opens, so I don't want this part to be glued down, okay? Take some more of my glue, pinch this so that the glue doesn't get in between. And then I'm going to put my other page over here. This is the back page. I'm going to take this and fold it because I didn't do that yet. I'm going to glue it on here first. And then the magic will happen when I pull that all up. This page is a little bit too long, so I'm just going to peel that up just a little bit and cut that. Another thing that's nice about that PVA glue is that it's flexible for a little while. So you can pull things up and it doesn't mess with it. All right, looks pretty good. My pages are all opening, so that's good. And now I'm just gonna let that dry a little bit so that it will get the spine nice and dry. You can lay something heavy on top of it so that it really gets this part good. All right, let's move on to how to make the little book. I have all my pages cut out. So if you haven't done that yet, pause the video and get that done. I'm gonna put those over to the side, and I'm gonna do the same process that I did with the bigger book, where I fold it down the middle and then fold the sides in. And fold it back like that. And this is my first page. We got our guy with the yellow pants and the guy jumping at the end. Go ahead and do that with all of your pages. Got these all ready to go now. What I'm going to do is take the little bookbinder bone and just get these creases really good. There we go. And this is going to be the front, I believe. Yes, that's the front. All right, now I'm going to get this one cut in half because I'm going to need half of it for the front and half of it for the back. This is that marbled piece. And I'm going to get my cover ready. Got some of this paper left over, so I think I'm just going to use this. Bring my book pages. Oh, I have to glue the book pages together. So go ahead and glue your book pages together, just like we did the first one. This last page is going to glue to that page, and so on. Going to check. Yep, that's still my first page. The guy in the yellow pants. All right, so that's ready. I'm gonna go ahead and measure out for my cover. And I think I wanna do with the flower on front. So I'm gonna move it down here. You wanna have a little bit, like a little bit less than 1/4 of an inch around this book. Let's see. And I kind of want that flower to be like right about there. So if I look at this, I've got 1/4 of an inch. And then I wrap it around here so that I can cut this side. And I want to leave about that much space. So I'm just going to eyeball it. All right, that looks good. Now what I'm going to do is grab these pages and I want to glue it to the first page and my cover. So I'm gonna fold that in half like this. And for this I'm going to use my PVA glue. And I'm gonna start by putting it on that front page there. Gluing that in, and then getting ready to put it on my cover and the spine. Make sure that you press down so that your pages are together and that the glue doesn't get into the spine. Bring that cover up to wrap around like that. And my cover is going to be a little bit funky right there, but that's okay. I can cut that off. And then we're going to glue the back cover on there like this. Oh, you know what? I forgot to put my page, my marbled page. Sorry about that. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. All right, so I'm going to put this in here first. That just gives it a little bit of a finished touch. And then I'm going to put some more glue down on here, just because I've kind of messed with it a little bit. And then wrap it around. And you want to kind of press on the side there of the spine to make sure that that paper is getting glued to the pages. And you're going to give it 10-15 minutes to dry. You can put something heavy down on it. And then you can come back and trim the edges if needed. Okay, I've given it some time to dry. I'm going to trim this edge here because my thing got a little bit whopper-jawed there. Make sure that my pages didn't glue together. Oops, some glue got in there somehow. I don't know how that happened. So I'm just going to fix that with some Distress ink here in a minute. And that looks pretty good. Oops, uh-oh. A couple of these might have gotten glued together. Oh, they're all right. So if that happens, just grab your Distress ink. I'm using Walnut Stain Tim Holtz. And I'm going to put a little bit of ink on that. And it'll just blend right in. I'm going to do some of this on the back page too here. You can also use this Distress ink on places like this where I didn't quite get it cut right and glued in there right. Just make that blend in a little bit with ink. Kind of gives it some age on it as well. And now the cover is ready to be decorated. If you want to, you can lay something heavy on it for a couple of days, and that'll make it so that it doesn't stick up. It should lay flatter if you have something on it. You can also use the little title, how I put the title on this one, and then the little addition on the inside here. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much for listening. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and don't forget to check out Window House Emporium on Etsy for new printables.